who is a spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces. Thank you for being with us. Why have you asked hundreds of thousands of people to move from the north to the south, and you're continuing airstrikes in the south?
Mark, we are now in day 11 of our war against Hamas, a war that we didn't choose, but a war we are determined to win. Unfortunately, indeed, Hamas are operating in the civilian arena, and we need to operate against them. That is our obligation, to prevent them from conducting terrorist attacks against us. Of course, when I'm watching your show and watching what you're covering, and as a human being, the loss of innocent life, it troubles us and is of deep concern. But we do not seek to target or harm civilians, unlike Hamas, who does. Now, this is the very sad reality of this conflict. And I would say, Hamas, and I've said this to you, Hamas has failed the people of Gaza miserably. And we have no choice but to fight against this terrorist organization. And it is the people of Israel, southern Israel, that were butchered and abducted into Gaza. And it is the people of Gaza that are paying because of this terrorist organization.
But we have a specific problem here, don't we, that you told the people to move from the north to the south. Now we are seeing bodies of men, women and children being taken out of rubble in buildings in Khan Yunis in the south there. You told them it would be safe. It is not. People are being killed.
Mark, we are fighting against a ruthless terrorist organization that operates within the civilian arena. We told people to go south precisely so that we can upbuild and escalate our offensive against Hamas wherever they are operating, but specifically within Gaza City. And those operations are continuing and have continuing and will continue throughout the day. We are going out of our way to refrain and minimize the civilian casualties. And it is indeed an extremely challenging task, as you pointed out, with the density of the population in Gaza. But
Colonel, if the north is not... No, but Colonel, just hold on a second. If the north is not safe and the south is not safe, where is safe in Gaza?
Mark, it's not a question about the north not being safe. The north absolutely is not safe because we are increasing our activities. And if Hamas is operating and continuing to use the Gaza Strip in areas within the south, such as Khan Yunis, as a staging ground, as it was several times on the 7th of October, against the people of Israel, against the communities, against the military, then there will be consequences to this. You can't expect us not to protect our civilians because Hamas are hiding behind theirs. And indeed, we are in a huge effort in order to minimize the civilian consequences of this conflict. But, and I say this very sadly, there will, and it is unfortunate and inevitable that this will continue to happen. If Hamas do not stop launching attacks from civilian population, we have no other option. Hamas is a terrorist organization that needs to be banished from the realm of existence. We are doing that. It is
but
at
these
a
people
huge...
have moved south. But these people have moved south. They have moved south and they are suffering airstrikes. They are being taken to hospital, and they are hospitals which are struggling with the lack of fuel, the lack of water. The hospitals are being overwhelmed. Is there not a point, if you've got all these people now in the south, you have to end the blockade, let the water in, let the fuel in, let the medicines in at least?
Mark, we are, and you know this, that the diplomacy is ongoing. We are fighting while the diplomats are doing the diplomacy. What if the IDF has received instructions to enforce a humanitarian hiatus or a humanitarian corridor? We will, until then, we will continue our fight. That is our responsibility. That is the directive that we have from our government. And I would say it is a really unfortunate situation, but we have no choice at this time. Yesterday, you reported about the UNRWA fuel and medication and medical supplies that were taken from the UNRWA compound. This goes to show the type of enemy we are facing. They have no regard, and it is indeed a very dire situation. Of course, with such a huge influx of people coming down south, there is going to be a stress, but it is a state of war. It's not a tit for tat as it was in the past.
Clearly.
It's a different type of conflict.
Clearly. Why, can I just ask you this, why are you bombing the Rafah crossing as well. Are there Hamas targets that you're trying to hit there?
We are not bombing the Rafah crossing. We are targeting specific, based on intelligence, targets, Hamas targets, the individuals that are involved, the individuals that have perpetrated attacks, the individuals that are planning, the individuals, the terrorists. I call them individuals, but I'm just giving them way too much credit. These terrorists have no regard for any human lives, Israeli or Palestinian. We are responsible for Israeli lives. We will defend them. And unfortunately, we are the only player in this arena that is trying to keep Palestinians out of harm's way.
Okay, just finally, you said, the IDF have said that there are other options to a ground invasion. Are you saying that you think you can achieve your objectives without a large ground invasion?
The IDF continues its preparations for ground offensive if the government instructs us to do so. We have recruited some 300,000 reservists, and indeed many of them are rallying on the border with Gaza. We've been training them and equipping them and tasking them with specific missions in order to destroy Hamas's infrastructure so that Hamas can never, ever target Israel again. Indeed, that is waiting on the government decision to mobilize. And if we are required to do so, we will.
Okay, Colonel Lerner, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mark.